Hi, welcome to This Week in Property. I'm Jayashree Kurup, I'm editor at MBTV. I have with me Prabhakar Sinha, he's the real estate editor of the Times of India. You've heard that the finance minister has announced 25,000 crore to get the real estate out of its mess. You've also heard that there is a lot of efforts to bring liquidity into the system. So can you still get your home loans easily? Are you able to get subsequent installments easily? Today, I thought this is an important subject because slowly we're trying to fix the problems of the past. But one thing that still needs a lot of fixing is where does the consumer get the money from? Where does the developer get money from? Prabhakar, why don't you start?
Yeah, particularly for the consumer itself, though those who have borrowed from the banks, there is not much problem. But the problem starts when one has approached or taken loan from NBFC. Now the problem has happened with the NBFC that since the ILFS fiasco, now NBFC is not getting line of credit either from the banks or they are not getting loan from the mutual funds. So in that situation, what is happening that they are not able to roll over their loan which they have taken from the back, from the behind to lend to the customers. So in order not to default, basically what they started doing that they stopped lending to the borrowers, and even those who have borrowed to the given loan to the borrowers, they are asking them to pay back. And for that, to discourage them to keep the loan, basically they are increasing the interest rate also, so that borrowers comes and prepay that entire amount. This has created a huge liquidity problem in the market system. Now, first of all, say for the fresh borrower itself. Now, those who are salaried class, for them it is not much of the problem because they can approach bank, they can get loan from the bank. But those who are the self-employed and those who are having their own business, for them getting loan from bank is not that easy today because banks are very reluctant to give loan because they are saying that default list is increasing. So this kind of borrower earlier also used to go to NBFC, and NBFC used to lend them easily because NBFC has that wherewithal to find out that whether this particular borrower is good enough to repay the loan or not. Because NBFC basically they do the hand holding kind of a thing. No, but they know the individual borrower, individual customer, and so they lend them. Now today NBFC is not lending. So that class of borrower is not finding loan very easily to borrow from the market.
So let's explain to our consumers. They have taken loan from housing finance companies.
Yeah. Now suppose the another problem is those who have already borrowed for, and say the first tranche or second tranche has already been released to the developer. Now developer has reached to the certain target point and they are asking for the second, third installment of the loan. When this borrower or the home buyer is going to NBFC asking them to release the third tranche of the loan, NBFC is saying that no, we can't do it. I have no money to release the funds. So he is going to default to the developer. Now the issue is this, that here it is not that easy also that he can transfer the loan to the banks. The one way is that, okay, he should approach the banks if his repayment track record is good, then he can go to the other bank and say that, okay, I want to transfer this loan to you and please take over this loan.
So are the banks taking over the loan from the housing finance companies?
Yeah, they do take it over, but only the condition is this, that borrowers, the repayment track record should be very good. Otherwise, the banks are not giving the loan. And their CIBIL score should be good, and in the NBFC record also, their repayment track record should be good. Now, if that is good, then they can do it. But suppose one is doing a business, then he might have skipped one or two, repayment schedule, and they would have given it with interest in the next one. So now those kind of a borrower today finding it very difficult to find new banks to transfer the loan so that he can pay the third tranche. And NBFC without fail, except HDFC Bank and HDFC, no NBFC today is giving loan and releasing the third tranche or fourth tranche.
So help our consumers understand why are the NBFCs and the housing finance companies not releasing loans?
Yeah, so what happens that basically in 2007 till 2007-8, banks were lending directly to the home buyers. Even those home buyers who doesn't have any regular income or salaried income, even they used to go to the bank only. Only thing is this, that the bank used to take a lot of time in releasing the loan, but they used to release it after 2 months or 3 months after applying for that loan. But at the same time, in the unorganized sector, the small borrowers, say 5 lakh, 10 lakh of rupees, they were not getting the loan. To create and to enable them also to borrow, banks created a layer of NBFC. A lot of NBFCs come in the market, and they were doing it this kind of a loan. That they are saying that okay, because they have that manpower also, and their manpower is not very costly, so they used to go find out, check at the address itself that whether what he had mentioned, that he has his own house, he has his own business, shops, and whether in that shop he has enough income or not. And on the basis of that, they used to lend to that home borrower.
Yeah.
And then they used to buy, and that asset, they go and check the asset also, and individually every assets, and then they used to create lien on that assets and give the loan.
Right.
So what happened that over a period of time from 2008 onwards, banks left all this market to the NBFC. So NBFC from 2008 till 2017-18, they used to give loans in the home market, and they completely replaced the home buyers, particularly in replaced the banks in the unorganized sector to give the home loan. In 2018, when IL&FS fiasco happened, and IL&FS defaulted to mutual fund, basically what happened? That NBFC doesn't have a huge liquidity, huge cash or capital. So they used to borrow from mutual fund or money market, and then they used to give loans. So they used to borrow short term and giving the long term. Say they used to borrow for 1 year or 1 month or 2 months, and they used to lend for 20 years or 15 years or 10 years. So there was a mismatch. So, but they used to keep rolling over. So they used to borrow one, when the maturity comes, they used to borrow from the second and give it to them. And this kind of things were happening. The market was going on for last 10 years very smoothly. There was no problem. But IL&FS somehow, they failed. And the moment they failed, that entire mutual fund said that, boss, now we will not borrow in this market, and they started calling back their loan. So when the maturity came, they said that no, we will not renew the maturity, now you pay back. Now on that payback required these NBFCs huge fund to pay them back without, so
There was no tranche of money coming in,
Coming
but they
in.
had to give out
give out the loan to the borrowers, those who have
Yeah.
already borrowed, and those who are going to come fresh borrowers also. So to the fresh borrower, they say that no, I will not be able to give you now. Even for the existing borrowers whose next tranche was coming for the payment, even to them they said that no, we can't pay you because I have to return money in the next quarter, which is coming on the maturity. So this created a complete vacuum in that market. And the banks were not able to fill that in because banks doesn't have that kind of a bandwidth to come to that market to give loan. So then this market becomes completely illiquid. For last
So-
1 year, there is no money in this market particularly. And at the same time, not only this, the developer also. Now the banks stopped giving loan directly to the developer. So developer were also going to NBFC to borrow. Now when this has happened and the NBFC doesn't have a money to give to anybody, so then the developers were finding also in themselves in lurch that what to do because they were not getting any money. So this created the entire this real estate market at a standstill for last 1 year. And so the liquidity has affected the real estate market much worse than anything else. It affected the demand side also, and it affected the supply side also.
Fair. Now let's get to what are the efforts that are being made to resolve this problem.
Now, first of all, the only thing is this, that liquidity has to be given to NBFC. For that, they first say that, okay, they are releasing 10,000 crore or 20,000 crore rupees, and they say that, okay, the bank will take money from this and give it to the NBFC. Now, that was not sufficient because total loan book size is something around 6 lakh crores. So, and the rollover is also required. So now, the finance ministry has asked bank to give loan to the NBFC also and open the line of credit to NBFC so that they can do the on lending.
So how much money has been made available from the banks to the
Around 1 lakh crore.
1 lakh crore has been made available. Has this translated into anything on the ground?
It is translating, but still it is having some huge problem. And now look, this has not affected only real estate.
Yeah.
Now NBFC used to give loan to the small skill sector and MSME also.
Yeah.
Now they have stopped giving loan to entire segment itself.
Right.
So NBFC is almost closed today. They are not working, barring a few. I mean, like you can say that PNB Housing Finance or say LIC Housing Finance or HDFC. I mean, some of them are still working because they have a very strong parentage.
So the parent company can give to its own NBFC,
Yeah.
but it's not lending to other NBFCs.
Other than this, because they have a parentage of bank,
Right.
like that also. So they were giving it. So now the government has realized that to make NBFC functional is very, very important for any revival in the economy,
Right.
including the real estate sector.
Which is why we've seen it come down to 4.5, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, unorganized sector is almost,
At a standstill.
standstill today, and because the banks doesn't have that kind of a bandwidth to give loan to unorganized sector because they don't have that kind of a manpower. And NBFC basically they are the small capital company and they sit near the market. They know the market very well, particularly unorganized sector, and they don't have a very costly manpower also. So they can lend to the company very close to the market or a small company also. I mean, now look, when you are going to give the loan, you should know the company, how strong it is, and you'll have to do entire auditing of that company. And banks can't do the auditing of lakhs of the company. So banks are basically working for the large, big capital, not to the small company only. So now these NBFC is required basically to come back. And for that, only thing that there are some mechanism is there which government is working out, because NBFC what they used to do, they used to create a strong group of the customers they used to lend. Now when they have this kind of a portfolio, suppose they have given loan to the 5,000 to home buyers. Now these 5,000 loans they used to sell to the banks, and then the banks used to give money against that. So now this 5,000 customer goes out of his balance sheet. So this releases him some capital which they can lend to the other borrower.
So this
also.
is like a secondary mortgage.
Secondary market. And so they used to create this market, but right now even that market was not working. So now government has asked banks that boss, you please give loans and securitize their loans so that they should have the capital so that they could lend. And the biggest problem is this, that mutual fund market, that the money market, they used to borrow somewhere around 6 lakh crore any time. Now that has to be replaced because that market is not giving loan now, right now. So now that market has to be replaced and this should go back to the banks.
Does the former banking system have the 6 lakh crore to replace the mutual funds?
Yeah, they have.
They have.
Yeah.
So before we go on to our queries,
Yeah.
I would like to ask you one more thing. Many consumers have said that they've released one tranche, two tranches, and now the rest of it is there.
Yeah.
With the finance ministry's direction, do you think that the NBFCs which have stopped lending to the consumers will be able to start lending soon?
Yeah, ultimately it has to start if the economy has
Yeah.
to, I mean, again come back at least working.
Have we done the groundwork for this to begin, or is there something still left, in your opinion?
I mean, some more liquidity is required in the system. And right now, the NBFC doesn't have enough liquidity because they are very, very fearful that when the next tranche of loan which they have taken come on maturity, whether they will be able to repay that loan or not, service that or not. So and if they default, suppose because of the RBI rule. Now what has happened that in the 6th July notification, RBI has made NBFC equivalent to banks in all the regulation. So now if NBFC defaults, say for 1 quarter, then again it will be, the banks will start looking into this carefully. And in the next tranche, if they still default, it might be declared as NPA. And the moment it will declare as NPA or the defaulters, that if they become defaulters, then nobody will lend it. So business will stop. So now, right now, they are very worried that their loan, the loan they have taken, that must be serviced properly. So they are saying it that boss, okay, expanding business or doing further business is important, but more important right now for them is to service the existing one which they have taken. And if they will not be able to do that, then they'll have to shut door. And in fact, the government will come also, all the regulating authority come on them very strongly.
Is there no flip side to not lending the next installment to the consumer?
I mean, for NBFC, right now, under the regulation, no.
So
No.
actually, it's the consumer who's been left out in the rain.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
One more thing, let's talk about the DHFL. Did the DHFL thing happen because of this lack of liquidity, or should consumers be worried that their own HFCs will also go to DHFL?
Now, here the problem for the HFC, particularly Housing Finance Company, that they were earlier regulated by NHB,
NHB.
National Housing Bank. Otherwise, all the NBFCs are being regulated by the RBI. Now, somehow there is some slip of, this regulation has happened where the DHFL was allowed to give huge chunk of loan to one company.
Right.
And now that company has defaulted. That company doesn't have a wherewithal to return the money. Now look, they normally work in a very tight situation. Now if the money, suppose one large chunk of money stops coming, then they can't service the ongoing things.
Sure.
So that has happened for the DHFL. Now this can happen particularly in a market which is going down. And the company like DHFL, which used to give loan only to the real estate sector, and that too in a big way to the developer.
Yeah.
Now, as the developer started defaulting, developer could not sell their product, could not raise money. So developer has defaulted to many other companies also. But if the other company has spread it thin, they have lot many customers. So suppose one customer has defaulted, still they could run the business. But in the case of DHFL, it was it was dependent only on one company because it has given a very large chunk of the loan to one company, and that company has defaulted, so it has caved in right now.
So
So
now
this is a
let's
big
take
problem
some,
of DHFL.
yes. Now let's take some of the queries that have started coming. We've got Amitesh Verma of Delhi who says, how to get a home loan on an under construction project if it has been delayed for 4 years? Will banks give loans to customers?
Now, that you'll have to find out that whether the bank is giving loan to that customer, that particular property or not, that particular project or not. Because it all depends. Now, suppose that company, which is, okay, 4 years delayed and all that, but now they have come back and they are saying that, okay, now we are on the trot and we have regularized everything, and banks have also realized that, okay, this company is good enough to give loan. So, and they have started giving loan on that project also. Then you can get the
So,
loan.
Prabhakar, help consumers understand what are the few things they should keep in mind when you go for an under construction project. What all areas should they be investigating?
First of all, before paying any money, you ask that developer of that project that which banks is funding you.
First, they need a RERA registration.
Okay, that they have to
Then,
see first.
that their loans have been serviced or are being
Serviced or not.
serviced.
Yeah.
Will the consumer be able to figure that out?
Yeah, because they must put it on the radar.
So go to the RERA website and see whether the quarter on quarter they are
Giving loan, servicing their loan or not, and they are meeting all the requirement also, like the target which they have already declared that they will be meeting, say, on the certain quarters, and whether they have been able to meet those targets or not. If they are missing that target, that means the company is still not doing good.
So there may have been a in between period where there was delay. How do you check whether that that company has now started coming into the black?
First of all, when it has started construction, then you just find out that whether it has got loan from any bank to start that construction, or it has raised capital on its own to start that construction.
How will the consumer know this?
If they have taken the loan, they
will come in the RERA
website. They'll have to declare it, and if it has not, still they'll have to mention it that they have raised funds, and the raising funds normally is done from the customer itself, that they ask the customer to pay, and the customer has started paying, then only money will be collected, work will start. Number one. Number two, that now when the work has started, so then they give a fresh timeline.
Right.
That, okay, by such and such date, they will put the 11
Next level of construction. Yeah.
Now see that what they have declared latest, now whether they are meeting that target or not. If they are not meeting that target, still that means the chances of default is high, so better withdraw. But still all the, I mean, suppose the company is doing all this, still banks might not be giving loan to the projects.
Mhm.
So now if a home buyer going to buy a flat in that particular project, still he might not be able to get loan for that project.
So should you go to your RERA and say that please give us a health of this company report?
Normally, companies announce that in the website itself that these banks have already done their survey and they have given us viable, declared us a viable and give loan, home loan against our project. So then you go and talk to that bank that whether you are, giving us the loan, and if you have a confidence in that developer, then only buy. Or otherwise, if you want to know something more, then try to find out that which bank have rejected them. And go and ask that bank that why you have rejected them. They will tell you the entire thing, entire story that why have they rejected them.
Do the
So,
banks, are the
yeah.
banks upfront with consumers?
Yeah, they do it.
Okay. So consumers, this is what you should be doing. Go to your RERA website, use it well. Go to your RERA website and see whether there is a fresh rejigging of the timelines.
Yeah.
The second thing is, if the timelines are there, please check whether they have also declared that there are some banks which are giving loans to the project. The third thing that you have to look at is the company meeting its construction timelines? If it says that the next, they have to have a seventh floor or a ninth floor that had to be laid at a certain time, is it actually doing that? Go back to the banks that were lending to this project and ask whether they think this is a viable project. And if they say it is not viable, ask why it is not viable. These are some of the things that you as consumers can do so that you will be able to get home loans. There's Ajit Kumar of Noida who says, do the government banks give loans to consumers who are buying from a builder who's constructing for the very first time?
Yeah. Any project which is viable. Now suppose, now the moment one gets all the approval and they are going for the registration to the RERA, nowadays basically what do they do? That they'll have to submit their financial planning also, that where from they are going to get the loan. Now suppose the one way is that, okay, the entire project is sold out, money comes 70% of that in the escrow account and with that construction will be completed. But suppose that the entire project is not sold out, only 20% sold out, 30% sold out, then how will they complete the project? So when they are going to go for the registration, these RERA authority ask them to submit their construction plan and they'll have to tie that entire financial thing also. That financial closure has to be declared that from where they will raise the fund if they are not able to sell the projects in advance. So they do it and they say that, okay, we have a line of credit from these banks and we can raise fund from these banks and we can do the construction.
Prabhakar, in RERA, every tranche of money that the consumer gives, 30% the developer can withdraw and 70% is in an escrow. So every tranche, this is followed?
Yeah, every tranche it has to follow. Now look, when you are signing a check, it is in the name of that developer and that check goes into that account only, that is escrow account.
Yeah.
Now, if the entire money deposited in the escrow account, and only 30% from that developer can be drawn.
Okay.
Rest 70% remain in that account. Which
according to the stages of construction.
Yeah.
They can withdraw according to stages of construction. How does a developer withdraw from that? Help our consumers understand.
Now, suppose in a 1 month, 10 crore rupees is collected. So developer can withdraw 3 crore of rupees.
Right.
Now that RERA has to be informed that we are withdrawing 3 crore of rupees from this account because 10 crore collection has come.
Mm-hmm.
Now sometimes they do it monthly, sometimes they do it quarterly.
Right.
But it is not going by the individual customer, it is going by the quarterly total collection of the money.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever collection happens, out of that 30% money we can withdraw, and the rest of the money goes for the construction of the project. And RERA is supposed to monitor it, and they claim that they are monitoring it.
Okay. There is Dhiren Singh of Mumbai who says, I have a home loan going on and I got the possession of the flat as well. Can I borrow another home loan to buy an under construction project? What is the process one needs to follow for buying another home?
If he has the paying capacity, and suppose his salary is say 3 lakh rupees per month, and he has taken a loan of only of 1 crore of rupees, so that means his EMI is 1 lakh rupees per month, suppose. So still 2 lakh rupees income is there. So according to thumb rule, normally banks says that 50% of your monthly income you can pay as an EMI. So up to 50,000 rupees, another EMI liability he can create.
Yeah.
So with that 50,000 rupees for 20 years loan, he can borrow for something around 50 lakh or 60 lakh of rupees. So up to 60 lakh rupees, another property he can buy with his salary. But suppose his wife is also earning and he has some other income also. So it all depends from on his paying capacity, that whether he can pay or not. If he can pay, you can buy 3 or 4, 5 or 10. I mean, whatever number of the house, that doesn't matter. Thing is this, that you should have paying capacity.
So Dhiren Singh, the bank will give you a loan for a second house or a third house or a fourth house, depending on how much is your capacity to service that loan.
Exactly.
So you have to prove to the bank that you are able to service that second loan as well.
Yeah.
Right? There's Nilesh Sharma of Greater Noida who says, I'm an Amrapali buyer. Now this is always, when you do a show, our show, we always get Amrapali and JP buyers, and we sympathize, empathize with them. I think things are moving forward, and they should be. Let's see what Nilesh Sharma's problem is. I'm an Amrapali buyer. Supreme Court has made it mandatory for buyers to pay back, but the banks are not disbursing loans to us as of now. How do we manage the remaining amount even without any surety that we will get our homes in the next 1 to 2 years? Now here, Prabhakar, in one of our shows, I remember some of the experts said that if you have to pay say 20 lakhs more or 10 lakhs more or 3 lakhs more, pay a token amount to show that your intent to give make your payment is there. Also make sure that the court receiver knows that you are not able to get the money from the bank, which is why whatever token amount you've paid, this is what you could raise on your own. I think the banks, the courts are sympathetic to the consumers.
Yeah, not only that, Supreme Court has already suggested the receiver to talk to the banks to give loan on the Amrapali projects also. Particularly, suppose he has already taken loan and he has already got 70% of the amount disbursed. Only 20% is remaining. Now today, if you go to the court receiver will talk to his bank, or would have already talked to his bank and ask the bank that, okay, you release the rest 30% amount in advance, even if the project is not completed, at the behest of the Supreme Court. So the banks are not, banks can't say no now. Now, if he has already
especially
taken,
for
especially for the Amrapali.
But there are some problems that we had raised that time. That there are, there are some consumers who have not paid, who have defaulted. Exactly. Some consumers who have retired today, and they are not very bankable. So do they also get this?
No, they will not get this. For that, actually, Amrapali, this court is going to suggest, and that's what the receiver has suggested, a mechanism so that his loan, which has defaulted already, can be regularized with certain amount of the payment.
Right.
Now, whether that payment has to be made in advance or that payment has to be made later, this has to be certain. This has to be.
It hasn't been sorted out.
Not sorted out as yet, but they are in discussion. That some of them are saying that, okay, fine, all that amount which they have, which is due right now, that buyer will pay you at the last installment. You charge interest for that, because when the last installment comes in, that means he is going to get the flat also. He has got the flat also, so he will not be paying the EMI. For the rent. So at that time, you take that entire amount.
So is the bank releasing the entire amount, or is it
entire
releasing
amount.
it in tranches?
No, the entire amount. That is the Supreme Court order.
Right. I think it was Nilesh Sharma, right?
Yeah.
Nilesh, you should take heart by the fact that the court is trying to get the banks to pay. The court receiver has been in consultation with the banks. If you still have a problem, keep getting back to us.
If he is going to take the fresh loan, then certainly he will not give.
No, he's saying he's already got some tranches and how to manage, because the bank is not giving the rest of the loan.
Bank is giving. The bank has to give.
The bank has to give.
Yeah.
Mohan Thakur of Noida Extension says, can buyers whose project is stuck due to the builder taking a loan to complete the project, what issues will there be if buyers go to the bank and ask for a loan to complete the project? Now here, many RERAs are stepping in and saying, if the RERA is convinced that the developer cannot complete the project, is unable to complete the project, then groups of buyers are being serviced. If it is a majority group of buyers, the RERA is allowing the consumers to get together and complete the project.
Yeah.
I think here the question is, will the bank fund the buyers?
No. Basically, when the bank funds anybody, it takes collateral.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when suppose a group of buyer go to a bank, that okay, fine, you give us loan, so that we can complete the project. But these buyers doesn't have authority to put that entire project as a collateral to the banks. They have no fresh collateral.
Right.
So basically, bank will
Bank
not,
will only give retail loans to the consumers,
Exactly.
and RERA will be the authority that will be the via
Yeah,
media.
for that what happens, that RERA will have to take decision that, okay, now this project has been taken away from the existing developer and it has given to the consortium of the buyers to complete the project. In that situation only, the consortium of buyers can say that, okay, unsold unit of that project, they do give that as a collateral and take loan against that unsold units.
But with the RERA as a intermediary.
Exactly. Without that, it will not happen.
Right. There is Mihir Pandey of Faridabad who says, will the funding of government to complete stuck projects be made available to projects in Noida and Greater Noida? I read that there are some issues to make it available to buyers in Noida and Greater Noida. That's not true.
No, what is that?
He's saying, will the funding of government to complete stuck projects be made available to projects in Noida and Greater Noida?
No,
Everywhere.
All over India.
It is. I don't think there is any bar on that. प्रफुल्ल गोस्वामी से सर मेरे दो सवाल हैं. वन, सिर्फ बैंकों को सबवेंशन स्कीम्स में लोन देने का ऑर्डर क्यों है, HFCs को क्यों नहीं?
सबवेंशन स्कीम बैन है. तो ये पहले हुआ करता था, लेकिन सबवेंशन स्कीम तो बैन है.
NHB ने ऑलरेडी कह दिया है सबवेंशन स्कीम नहीं हो सकता. HFCs का इंटरेस्ट रेट बैंकों से ज्यादा क्यों होता है?
क्योंकि वो बैंक जो है सो बड़े कस्टमर को और अच्छे कस्टमर को जिनको की सैलरीड इनकम है नॉर्मली उनको लोन देते हैं. तो उसका इंटरेस्ट, और उसके लिए बहुत ज्यादा माथापच्ची करने की जरूरत नहीं है, बहुत ज्यादा ड्यू डिलिजेंस करने की जरूरत नहीं होती है. लेकिन जब जो NBFCs हैं या HFCs हैं, जब वो लोन देते हैं, वो छोटे छोटे कस्टमर को भी देते हैं जिनके से छोटे छोटे बिजनेस हैं, कोई छोटा सा परचून की दुकान है, पान का दुकान है. अब ऐसे लोगों का कितना इनकम है इसको सर्टेन करना आसान नहीं होता, रिस्क भी ज्यादा होता है. तो इसीलिए NBFC चूंकि ऐसे लोगों को भी लोन देता है तो नॉर्मली वो अपना इंटरेस्ट रेट ज्यादा रखता है, जो कि इसमें डिफॉल्ट रेट भी ज्यादा होता है. तो NBFC अक्सर होम लोन से जो बैंक का होम लोन रेट होता है उससे कम से कम 2-3% ज्यादा रेट रखता है, 4% भी ज्यादा रेट रखता है. कई बार जो कुछ NBFC हैं जो कि 4 लाख, 3 लाख, 2 लाख तक का लोन देते हैं. अब एक कस्टमर अगर जाएगा चाहे वो 2 लाख का हो या 2 करोड़ का हो, टाइम लगभग 2 लाख वाले में ज्यादा लगता है, 2 करोड़ वाले में कम लगता है. 2 करोड़ वाला सैलरी का इनकम होता है, उसके पास इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न होता है, सब कुछ होता है, तो आप 5 मिनट में वेरीफाई कर सकते हैं. लेकिन जो 2 लाख का लोन लेने जा रहा है वो अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में काम करता है. अब ये भी पता करना है कि उसका इनकम क्या है, वो कहाँ पे रहता है, जहाँ रहता है, वो रेंट कितना देता है, तो जो लोन ले रहा है वो पेमेंट कर सकता है नहीं कर सकता. ये सारा सेटल करने में टाइम ज्यादा लगता है, मैन पावर ज्यादा लगता है, तो जो कॉस्ट है वो बढ़ जाता है. और दूसरी बात है कि NBFC पीछे से बोरो करता है, जो इसकी बोरोइंग कॉस्ट है वो भी ज्यादा होती है.
तो उनका कॉस्ट ऑफ फंड भी ज्यादा है, उनका प्रोसेस कॉस्ट भी ज्यादा है.
एग्जैक्टली, और इसीलिए इनका रेट ज्यादा होता है.
Right. Jayant Verma Pune से he's asking, I want to buy a 3 BHK flat in under construction project. SBI is not lending on that project, but private banks like HDFC are lending. Is the project safe to buy in?
Oh no, SDFC is as good as any other bank. Okay. In fact, in many cases, I suggest that okay, it is even better.
And HDFC is aggressively lending to the home loan sector. So, if HDFC is lending today,
they're very prudent also.
Very prudent.
Yeah. So, I mean, if SDFC has cleared a project, that means that project, I mean, is very safe.
Right.
Now, one can't say so because now there are many projects which SDFC has approved and defaulted.
But Prabhakar, I would say that we need to help the consumers understand that actually there has been a sea change in the way the banks look at real estate projects. There was a lot of lapses by the banks also in giving out the home loans, in giving out loans to the projects. But right now, these are getting sorted.
Yeah.
And if they are getting sorted, and today there is a lot of scrutiny that's happening from the government, from the RBI, from the RERAs. So the banks will not get away with giving away loans without due diligence. Yeah. And we believe that the system has, the bank's due diligence system has certainly become better, right?
There are many situations because many a times Now, for this kind of approval also, now suppose SBI has not got any customer so far for that project, so they wouldn't have approved it that project. Or that project also manager might not have gone to the SBI to get their project approved for the home loan. So there are so many situations. So if the SDFC has approved it, to my mind, that's a safe project.
That's a safe project. Let's take Kuldeep Singh of Noida. Consumers, we're taking our last few queries for the day. There is Kuldeep Singh of Noida who says, in case of JP, attached properties are not able to sell. How will buyers get funds or projects be completed?
Attached property is not able to sell.
I think he means if they go to the RERA and say that we want to finish the projects, there is not much sale of JP properties happening. So can consumers, how will buyers get funds to complete projects? Actually, it's like this. You as a body of consumers will find it very difficult to either sell or to get loans. But get the RERA involved in that entire thing.
Yeah.
And unless a RERA is involved, it's very difficult for you to sort out.
But in JP and
And
NCLT
JP is
already there. NCLT
You
is
have an
definitely-
IRP there, it's taking much more time than it should have.
Yeah, it
but-
should have. Yeah.
But it has to be through the resolution professional. I don't think you consumers are going to be able to complete any projects.
Yeah, any project there.
There's Kiranpreet Kaur of Chandigarh who says, should you borrow from bank, NBFC or HFC? Which one is good to borrow easily and at cheaper rates?
Now cheaper rate is bank.
Cheaper rate is bank, easily is NBFC, HFCs.
Or NBFC, yeah.
And should you borrow from any of these? Today, like I told you, the due diligence process has become far more stringent than it was in the last 10 years, I think. And you should be able to, if you have a good credit record, you should be able to get
Yeah.
it. Suresh Goswami of Mumbai says, are only RERA registered projects going to get funding from the government for completion?
Yes.
Any project that is under construction has to have a RERA registration,
Exactly.
or it is in violation of the law of the land.
Yeah.
So if you are going for a project which does not
Bank
have
will
a
not
RERA
lend.
registration,
And
don't
bank
do
will
it.
not lend against that property.
Also, it is an illegal project and you should not be getting into it. As a
Exactly.
consumer, you are playing with fire there.
Exactly.
Sujata Pandey of Noida says some builders are offering plans like 20, 40, 20, in which you need to pay 20 or 40% sometimes to buy in under construction project. Is it sensible to pay 40% for an under construction project?
Now, if the bank is giving loan on that project, that means the implementation is on time, implementation is happening. And if that is registered with the RERA and everything in the RERA is fine, and if you have confidence in that developer is good, it's safe.
Hari Krishna Agarwal says, give us a brief future of derailed projects in Greater Noida, Delhi NCR. That would take a whole show by itself, but very briefly we'll try and tell you what is happening. The Noida, Greater Noida and Yamuna Expressway, the RERA, UP RERA has got a lot of forensic audits done to track where the money has gone. In many cases, if they feel that their project is cash flow positive, that means there's consumer receivables, there's unsold inventory, or there is excess land that can be sold off so that you can use that to finish the project. The RERA is stepping in and trying to complete those
And
together.
the loan, 35,000 crore, this new stress asset fund has been created to fund
These
these kind
projects.
of projects only. So the entire government is behind this to complete these projects. So now I believe that there is a hope that these projects will be completed, and it has to be completed if the financial market and the real estate market has to come back on rail.
Right. Sandeep Mukherjee of Greater Noida says, can someone whose loan got NPA in Amrapali borrow another loan to buy in some other project? Please
No.
suggest.
No, because your CIBIL score would have been very bad. If you have not paid back that loan and if you have defaulted, then your CIBIL score would have been very bad by now, and to get new loan for you would be very, very difficult. Number one. Number two, that if you have already defaulted on one loan, so no bank will give you loan the moment they will come to know of it that you have defaulted. And number three, you better regularize that loan also, otherwise bank will come on you very heavily and you'll have to pay ultimately. I mean, you can't skip.
And our last query of the day, Lata Kumar, this is in response to what you're saying. Lata Kumar of Delhi says, how do I check my credit score? I am a self-employed and never track my credit history. How do I check my eligibility to borrow home loans? Prabhakar, here I want you to also help consumers understand that if your credit history is bad, if your CIBIL score is not up to the mark, what is it that the consumers should do? If you could answer those.
No, first of all, to find the CIBIL, you can go on the CIBIL site. Otherwise, there are so many nowadays the financial intermediary sites where they are helping you to find your CIBIL score. For that, you will have to get some of your identification, and with that identification, your CIBIL score can be found out. It's certain that okay, what is your CIBIL score? Now, your CIBIL score can go or it can go back for various reasons, which you might not be aware of also. Like suppose you have taken loan against or you have bought something on your credit card some time back, and now you forgot, you don't have that credit card, you have changed your address, and you don't know whether that payment has been made or not, but that bank would have gone against you in the CIBIL, and your CIBIL score by now would have completely ruined.
So how do you fix that?
Now, first of all, you settle that loan, you find out that which bank is this. Now, suppose if that amount is in dispute, you are saying that no, that amount is not, clear amount, and I will not pay that amount. Then inform the CIBIL also that boss, this amount is in dispute, and this bank has raised this amount despite certain reasons, despite these facts, and the CIBIL will take care of that. CIBIL will inform that bank because this is dispute, so I will not take cognizance of this default, and then your CIBIL score can also be improved, can be reset. And besides that, you also, try to fix that entire thing with the bank itself or the financial institution which whom your dispute is ongoing or you have defaulted. So fix that things. Then they will inform the CIBIL, and after that your score still remain at around 4, 4.5, and then after over a period of time, if your payment track record will keep on improving, then only your CIBIL score will
also
increase.
remember that if you don't take credit, if you are paying for everything from your own finances, it doesn't get you a credit score.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of people who have sufficient money to buy whatever they want to buy. Suddenly you want to buy a house or something expensive, and you want to know what your CIBIL score is. Sometimes your CIBIL score is very low. The best thing to do is buy something on your credit card and pay for it in EMIs, and pay it on time so that your credit history starts getting recorded. That is also important. You can take a small personal loan and return it.
Yeah, and CIBIL score is very important, particularly now when the banks have connected or linked the loan against something like the repo rate or something like that. Now, if your CIBIL score is very good, say 6.57, then you will get any money at a much lower interest rate, at least 1 or 1.5 percentage point lower than the other person whose CIBIL score is say 4.5 or 5. So now CIBIL score has become very important in India also.
Okay, and we have been running a poll while we were talking. Are you able to get funds disbursed for your project? 44% said yes, 56% said no. This is a sad story of today's consumers. The 56% of even the respondents, this is not the entire market, the people who responded, 56% said they are not able to get their funds disbursed for their project, and they are really struggling.
This 44% is mainly from the banks.
Right.
Banks or HDFC.
Right.
Or otherwise, all other NBFC which have given loan, they are defaulting. They are saying that no, will not give.
And there is a lot of effort, like we said in the beginning of our show, there's a lot of effort from the government, from the banking sector, from the RBI to fix this problem.
Yeah.
Now, projects are being picked up and being revived. RERAs are trying to see how projects can be revived and taken through to completion. With all this, the funding mechanism is also being fixed. But in the interim, consumers like you are having a difficult time and keep coming back to This Week in Property because Prabhakar and I raise those issues which bother you the most, and we try and figure out what are the solutions that are available. Thank you so much for watching This Week in Property. I'm Jayashree Kurup and this is Prabhakar.
Thank you very much for watching.